All right, everybody. I'm here with Robert Patzschke, Managing Director at Patzschke and Partner Architects out of Berlin. They're known for producing many, many beautiful projects in Berlin and also outside of Berlin, right? But mainly it's a Berlin focus, yeah. We're here in Oslo at the Beauty and Ugliness 2025 conference. And yeah, I'm going to ask him a couple of questions. Are you ready, Mr. Patzschke?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Very good. So, why did you become an architect?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm from a family of architects, and so there was no other way for me. My grandfather was an architect, and my father and my uncle, identical twins, were architects, and now I'm leading the firm together with some of my cousins. And yeah, it's a family business, so to say, in the third generation. And we celebrated our 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. Now I think this year it would be the 56th anniversary of our firm. And for me, there was never a question to do something else. There was, of course, no force by my parents. And but yeah, so out of 6 siblings from my father and my uncle, 4 became architects. Yeah.
Great job, I guess. So, were you a traditional architect, or was this your preference from day one, or were you first a modernist and then had kind of like an epiphany phase, or how would you describe your intellectual journey in the architecture scene?
Our firm started in the late 60s. Of course, the design then was what it was. My father and my uncle were trained in the spirit of the time then. But right from the beginning, they had the feeling that this is not correct. But it took, of course, a couple of years to really come out with that, and it had to nurture over some time. And of course, it was very difficult to change that into a more traditional and classical architecture. I believe because they were twins, they were 2. I think it was for 2 reasons this twinhood is important. One is that for them, harmony was always a very important point. And harmony not only in social interaction, but also they wanted to feel in harmony in the spaces where they were. And they realized with the modern post-war architecture, you don't create harmony. And the other is being 2. It was very difficult to change that design approach, but they always had the possibility to back each other. So of course, then I grew up in the whole debate of the style debate and I studied in the 90s, and we built our first big classical traditional building at the time, the Hotel Adlon, the first contemporary traditional building in Germany at a dominant location. And so for me, it was very hard at university. I was the black sheep. Yeah. But I got my backing from home. And so I stood the ground, and I was convinced. And so now we are carrying on that legacy and that design school within our firm and trying to bring it further.
Great. So maybe you can tell us about 1 or 2 other projects than the project Adlon, which were also very formative for you in your role now as managing director. Yeah. Would you like to give us a little insight into that?
Yes. I think now we've had these very interesting talks about construction methods, and that is, as we have seen, also now partly very difficult because of rules and regulations that we have. And so, funnily enough, some of the most beautiful projects in terms of craftsmanship we actually built in India. I moved to India in 2005, where I then spent around 10 years and set up a branch office to our Berlin firm. And there, of course, construction is done in a totally different way, and it's more the traditional craftsmanship with load-bearing masonry, with stone carved elements, with in situ plastering on site, and proper woodwork with wood carvers. So that for me was very interesting and exciting.
Thank you. So, how do you think, since in most universities the traditional method is not taught anymore, first up, how did you learn all this stuff by yourself, or did you had like other teachers or mentors who helped you doing that? Maybe also outside of your own family, I could say. And also, what would you recommend for younger students or architects who want to learn about the traditional method, how to start and how to learn these skills, which are quite lost?
Yeah, it's a very good question. When I studied, there was no way to study that thought of thing. The Princess Foundation then came up with a one-year course, but I never attended that. Of course, and even in our own firm, it was all done by trial and error. So, of course, I was already influenced by the work in our family. But I think what taught me most was traveling with my watercolors all over the place and just sitting down and sketching and watercoloring, and then getting a sense of the proportions of the shadows that are cast, of the materials, of the aging process, of the compositions of different times. So I would say that was for me the best way. And then, of course, this is how the big architects in the 18th, 19th century learned. They did the Grand Tour through England and Italy and France, and just sketched and learned from that. So that's what I did in a way. And I think that is still very relevant today. So, of course, we have now possibilities. We have even in Germany a few universities where there are some professors that are more towards that direction. So the School of Architecture in Potsdam, for example. And then we have, of course, Notre Dame University, and there are other maybe summer courses. On the other hand, I find it very sad that we have to segregate this modern versus traditional. I think it would be much more fun to have that all joined within the universities, and that the students can try out different things and then can learn also from the different sides, and then develop their own liking rather than segregating them before they even start.
Well, thank you so much, especially the part about like the getting outside and watercoloring and just sketching. I think it's a very important point, and just starting instead of like thinking about like sitting with the books, just start sketching. I think this is a very important point. So, just to get a spontaneous reaction out of you, what are your top 3 cities you would recommend to visit that are the most beautiful, in no particular order, but just the first 3 cities which would come to mind which you love?
In terms of architecture, you say, yeah? Well, I think Barcelona is very beautiful. It has a lot of elements. Of course, then in Italy, I wouldn't know which city to choose. There are so many beautiful places. Berlin is not known for its special architecture, but I think what Berlin has, it has quite a few examples in the meantime of a wide range of different contemporary, classical, traditional architectures, because over the course of time there are quite a few architects now that do that. So for people who are interested and want to follow that, they can see a big range of contemporary examples.
What's your relationship with Oslo? Are you here for the first time, and how do you like the city so far?
I give lectures every now and then, but nowhere I have been as often as in Oslo to give a talk. This is already the fourth time, and the first time was 20 years ago, 21 years ago. I was so younger, of course, and then I was here 4 or 5 years ago for another talk. And then I came last year for the BUA 2024, and I had a talk here. And what strikes me a lot is that there is so much activity among the Norwegians to promote this kind of architecture, and yet there are no contemporary examples. It seems to be very hard ground for that, and so I'm very happy that this format has progressed into such an important event for that subject, and we have so many interesting speakers. So I have been here before, and I will be coming again. And we're actually pitching for our first project in Norway, and keep fingers crossed that this will work out, and then Norway will see more of us.
Very nice. So, for everybody who will be joining us online, how would you describe the vibe and like the atmosphere of this conference? And what are people missing out if they are not here in Oslo? Maybe thinking about next year.
Yeah, well, for me, it's like coming home. There are a lot of people here that I have known for more than 20 years. So, and of course, we all share a common idea. But it's also, in terms of content, it is very interesting because we have had these different views. We had lectures on the theoretical approach, on history, on craftsmanship, on reality, how to change these things in larger contexts and smaller contexts for very prestigious projects, but also very simple projects for day-to-day use. So there's such a huge variety of content that I think that is very interesting, and I would definitely recommend for anyone who has a small interest in contemporary, traditional, and classical architecture to come here.
Great. So, do you have, first up, I will thank you for your time. Yeah. And do you have anything else you want to share with first our fellows in the new traditional architecture scene, or any piece of advice, or any thoughts?
Well, there's not much I can add. I think you just have to get started, and we have to find the developers that have the courage to do that. In my talk, which will follow now, I want to also take that fear away, the fear of high construction costs and difficulties in building. So I will show a lot of examples where we can have a wide range of working on the complexity of details and elements to fit any sort of budget that we may have. And we know the real estate industry is a hardcore business. So we have seen some of the recent projects and recent presentations that were for wealthy individuals, but this is not the normal way in the common market. So we build for the common market, and our clients come back to us because they think that if at all there has to be a little bit extra in the budget, it pays out double in the selling prices. So I think we have to find someone here in Norway to start that, and then it will be an ongoing story.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Yeah. It's a really pleasure, and all the best to you.
Thank